Hello and welcome to your Grow Groups this week. My name is Jessica Sachs and I'm the director of Grow Groups, and we are so happy to be gathered here with you. We're continuing in this series called #Fail, where we're looking at characters in the Bible and the failures that they have caused or endured and how God has responded to them, how they reacted, and what we can learn from those situations. So this week, as we talk about Peter, an incredibly important character in the Bible who's got his own fair share of blunders, I have invited from our Kid Connection team, Jen Bruce. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
So good. I'm so glad to have you here.
Good to be here.
Yes. This has been a fun and vulnerable series, and so I hope it's led to a lot of good laughs as we've gotten to connect differently. So I wanted to start with a really fun opener. What's a failure you've been proud of?
I would say my failures that I'm proud of are in being a mom. I'm not always right, and I screw up frequently, but my kiddos are thriving, they're growing, they're learning, and they're teaching me along the way too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's such a beautiful answer. I know I was trying to think of like specifics, but I couldn't come up with any. Cooking in general, I feel like is a failure that I can usually redeem, but sometimes it just feels like adulthood. Like
right.
Thinking as your kid's perspective, maybe.
That's right. I mean, honestly, I think I read something about for anxiety, that parents often face. It was like your parents just, they wanted the best for you too. And what your kids want from you is you. And they don't have any like, I want you to be this or that or that. They just want you to be present and available and to love them. And so, boy, that's kind of easy. So like when I get angry or I make a mistake or I fail, I think it's important for me to come back and say, that was wrong of me. I apologize, and offer them the opportunity to forgive and give grace too, because we're building a relationship.
Right. Yeah, I think about that like in this series as we've looked at the failures that have happened, like your kids get to learn from yours, just like we're getting to learn from all of these characters and what they've done.
And sometimes you learn what to do, and sometimes you learn what not to do. And, I won't answer for my children, but I think there might be one, that they lean more towards, don't do it like that,
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Wow.
And so as we're kind of more jumping into Peter this week, I was curious if you'd be willing to share a time you misunderstood instructions or a situation. And what did you do when you realized your mistake?
I would say this was in 1991. So we're like 31 years over this, right? But it's still fresh. I was in a class called Family Living taught by Maggie Elder. And the instruction, she handed out this paper face down. She said, this is a time test. Don't turn this over until I tell you to. Read through the entirety of the directions before you begin. And your grade will depend on the speed with which you get this done. So directions, who has time for directions? I turned that thing over when she said, and I just busily went through. And then I noticed that some of the people were turning theirs over, and I'm like, how is that possible? Like, I am such a speedy reader. And so then I went back and decided, well, maybe I should read those directions, which said, read these directions. When you're done, flip the page over. Your test is over. You have succeeded. Well, whoops. #fail. But again, and I've shared this with you before, but for me as a social worker in the education background, we always try to find strengths, right? The strengths-based perspective. So fail is first attempt in learning, or first attempt, I'm learning. It taught me not to rush, that other people maybe know more than I do, that directions are good, and, that maybe I could take a breath every once in a while and not push so hard to be first or right or, I have all the answers.
Absolutely. It's funny because that test has continued.
Right.
And I'm the little sister. And so I remember my sister coming home from school 4 years ahead of me and being like, I did this today, and being really upset about it. So when it was finally my turn, again, 4 years later, I walked in and was like,
I got this. See, your sister's fail led
Yes.
to your success.
Yes.
See, that's how God works.
I got to learn from that because I'm with you. I would have been a you, like, you bet. I'll be done 1st. And how did you guys?
A few years ago, I was singing at a funeral, and Maggie got up to preach about this person, and I was just like, I just remembered that test. Like, how could you do that, Mrs. Elder?
Thank you. That's amazing. I'll share a rough one in my humility and vulnerability. It's so quick. My poor mom got off the phone one day, and she came in the room just all sad and somber. And she's like, girls, we need to talk. And I was like, who died? She goes, our neighbor, Bill. Oh my God.
You're like,
oh, so sarcasm is fun sometimes. And it's can be
inappropriate
levity.
others.
But that's not one of them. We're going to drop that little thread of sarcasm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think I can't, as far as what did I do when I realized my mistake, I think I just shut down. There's my bad.
I know. I think we expect perfection from ourselves so much, or we expect to be right or to understand things before they happen. And, we don't. It's just like those directions. I should have read them. We don't know everything, and I could have learned from that. And I was like, my goal was more important than the directions. And sometimes I think we do that with God too. It's like, no, God, but I want to do this. And God's like, no, but you're supposed to be doing this. And you're like, oh, you're pulling so hard. And when you recognize and give in to that and just listen to God, how freeing that becomes, where things are knocked down, obstacles that were once huge or little, you know what I mean? Having those kinds of moments is kind of redeeming and not so much a fail.
Right. And especially as we consider the story of Peter. Peter I wore my bold Hawaiian shirt because this was just, I needed Peter energy today.
That's right.
And that day when I just turned around to my mom and just spoke without a thought in the world was real Peter energy.
Absolutely. But then look at through all that bluster and cockiness and, knowing it all or reaction, Peter was who the church was built upon. So if God is willing to give Peter a chance, then I've got a fighting shot here, I think, maybe.
I have a good feeling about it. Yeah, I think because we went ahead and kind of answered, that's how God responds to us in those situations. It's just this love and this grace.
Right.
And redemption.
Right. And there's nothing that God can't redeem. We can't limit God. We fail, we make mistakes, we fall down, we get back up again. And God has never been like, oh, well, that was it, kiddo, number 1.5 billion, and I no longer love you. Yeah. I mean, God is still there, and God is still working for your good. So fail away, because that's how failure leads to success.
It sure does. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today, Jen.
Well, thanks for having me.
And hopefully that helps some of you. Was it, oh shoot, what is
first attempt in learning, but I like first attempt, I'm learning.
First attempt, I'm learning. I hope that's something that you all can carry away this week. And as we continue to share our stories and learn how God is responding to one another in these situations and through these situations in the Bible. First attempt, I'm learning.
That's right.
Yes. We're praying for you over this week. Take care.